Seeing so much of this door filled is wild to me. See, I'm pretty new to Grandmaster. I finished Strawberry Jam Expert Lobby just a few months ago, then did my first Grandmaster level in Lava Layer, and after that I came back to Spring Collab 2020, and now I'm here. The levels in this lobby have gone rather smoothly so far, mostly, but since it's so old and the community's difficulty perception has shifted a little bit, with the green and yellow levels so far, it's been kinda like, is this really GM? It doesn't feel like I'm playing levels that are significantly more difficult than ones I've already cleared in Strawberry Jam. But from here on out, moving into the red levels, these are absolutely going to be GM by any scale. And that is just a little bit scary. So it's with a little bit of trepidation that I'm entering the first of these levels, Temporal Tower by the Dav Smasher. It's real pretty. I love these floating fragments. There doesn't appear to be anything on the side. The level must be above me. Maybe the entrance is up here on the left side? This music is fantastic, by the way. Nothing on the left side, maybe the right? Also, in hindsight, it's a bit strange that there's a tower in the background when the level is itself a tower. Are there two towers? A whole row of towers? Getting up the right side is a little trickier, but I do make it up here and discover absolutely nothing. Wait, I know where the entrance is. It was just here. I found the level. So, what do we have here? Springs, key tokens, the usual mess of spikes. Spring cancels are something I've never been exactly great at. But this doesn't take long, and now I see a lot more springs. There are a lot of different paths, but the key block is over here. It must rise up to help me reach that ledge, so that's the end of the room. Doesn't this seem like it could be cheesed though? Like at least with a corner jump? Well, I'm not going to worry about that. The other thing dictating an order to the room is this switch here, which needs to be pressed to open up a path to the right side with the feather. Then there's just this little loop with another token in it, and that's the whole room. Oh, Battlin's here too. Well, Battlin ended up not being much of an issue. I just go a bit wider here than I might otherwise. At no other point does she even threaten to get in the way. That wasn't the right order. really though, being able to practice segments out of order is a nice quality of rooms like this. Wave dashing here gave me a little trouble because the camera doesn't pan down quite as far as it should. Although in hindsight it's possible I'm doing the loops in the wrong order and messing up the triggers a bit. This feather section isn't too tight, but like most everything else here, it's enough to be a little bit troublesome. And when re-entering the tower, I was tripped up a bit by the foreground blocking view of the spikes until I got close. By the time I got here, I'd forgotten exactly what to do. And it turns out that platform is a bit slow, so I'll have to either space out my dashes a bit to delay, or return and bounce on the platform a bit between picking up the key and getting to the top. All in all, that didn't take too long. Also, I installed Ender's Blender so I can see these times easily in game now. That's just over half an hour for that room. Now, what's going on here? I hear a berry. Can't really see anything inside the tower though. There aren't any binoculars or anything down here. So is the berry up at this other entrance? Oh, that's what's inside the door, more binos. And the berry is in the room after all, which will make it harder to get. So the room starts by climbing up here. There's a key token on the left I can't get. This dash crystal respawns, so I'll be coming back here. Up left from here is the berry. Up right leads to climbing this shaft, which has a key block at the top. Along with the move block from below, that must be the end of the room. And I can also hyper to the right to reach this second shaft. This one has some springs to climb up, but I can also fall down to where this move block is and ride that all the way up to the very top where there's a non-respawning double dash crystal. And then further to the right I can fall down the side of the tower and get a couple tokens along the way. I was a bit confused by how precisely this all fit together, until I realized that the double dash crystal is the key to getting the token at the left side on the beginning that I couldn't get before, and then everything clicked into place. This quick wall bounce right after the spring was the hardest thing for me to get consistent. Of course, battling has to be trouble here too. At first I was trying to dodge battling to the left, but it turns out to be more consistent to slip by on the right. It always looks like you're going to get hit, but she moves away just in time. So, after working at this for a bit and realizing that I could actually make it back to the starting platform with the berry, it won't let me collect it here after all. Is this whole side of the tower covered with a no berry collect zone? Maybe if I go all the way to the top? No, give me the berry, I want it! Ah well, I figured it might not work, but I had to try. At least I can put that aside and work on the rest of the room now. I'm not going down yet, but I did want to test that spring bounce. This up dash after the gray spring was the other most unreliable part of this room. I thought I might need to hit the top of this spring before the feather, but that just sent me into the spikes. Once again, I was underestimating how high springs send you. Riding the move block up isn't very difficult, but I did have to work out a specific movement pattern to get it reliably. And though I'd gotten past this section on the outside of the tower pretty quickly, I did end up dying here quite a few more times until I got used to the precise movement details. After mistiming this upwards dash a few times, I learned to look at the background tiles for a position cue. Once again, spring cancels are hard. But the thing that actually killed me the most in the last part was hitting the spring on the side of the moving block as it goes upwards. Here I decided that I was close enough to the end that it was time to start incorporating the berry into my attempts. It was during one of these that I ended up making it into this small nook and confirming that there is no secret here. After failing to hit this spring a second time, I went back to not picking up the berry for a bit, and it was then I discovered that I actually have to be fast at the end. Good to know I didn't waste an otherwise successful attempt by skipping the berry. I was pretty sure that I could go fast enough at the end without having to significantly change my movement. Just had to push my timing a little. And there we go. Room down, berry down, walls painted a lovely red. On to the next one. You can hear another berry right away here. It's actually just past the wall to the right. You can see the edge of its glow peeking out if you look closely. Also, stats. Took just over an hour for that room with the berry. Not too bad. But I was starting to worry about how hard later rooms in this level might get. From this first wave dash, going further to the left leads to a key token block that's clearly the end of the room, which means we start off by getting these 2 tokens and then going up. Going further up at the fork leads to a switch, so it will be important to hit that next. And this spring on the left will fall down, allowing us to loop through the bottom one more time even after the initial springs have fallen. Then at the fork we can hyper right and take this path all the way out of the tower. Then loop down below to pick up the slightly hidden berry, climb up to reach the feather, do another little loop for another token, and then head back inside the tower. And then this token, which we passed by earlier, can be collected with a wall bounce as we head back to where it's the center. And then finally to the left, this double dash crystal will let us get the last token and dash to the block very quickly before it starts moving. Well, that was my plan at least. Once I started attempts, I found out pretty quickly that I did not actually understand this starting section. In my head, I thought that I would hit the first spring, dash to the second, dash back to the first and hit it again as it was falling, and pick up the token at the same time. But in practice, it did not fall fast enough and the token was too far down. And if I did delay until I could pick up the token, I would not have enough height to make the path above. But after banging my head at it for a while and experimenting a bit, I realized what I'd been missing. That double dash crystal, which I had thought was for the end of the room, is actually for when I loop back down here. That crystal is what allows me to get the extra height after picking up the lowest of the tokens. For now, I just hit both springs real quick and head on up. Madeline gets in the way, but if I just go a bit faster, I'm sure I'll be able to dodge her. So now I can skip to figuring out the right side. Even when I know what I want to do, it still usually takes a few tries to get used to executing it at speed. And many more deaths than you see here before I become comfortable with all the little hidden nuances. This feather is glowing so much that I did not actually realize it was in a bubble until I bounced off. Makes for a pretty good joke. I came pretty close to beating the room here, but then only made it to the feather a couple more times in the next like 20 minutes, so I took a break. The whole room still felt very inconsistent, so I thought it might take a long time yet, but after just 10 or 15 more minutes, I was so happy to have cleared that. So what's this next room like? I don't see binos. Hey, I wanted to go back to the left to see if there was something there. Well, if there's a door that closes, there presumably wasn't. This is a surprisingly small room after the last couple. Just a few precise spring cancels. Oh, can't forget the stats. In the end, that room took me barely longer than the previous, still only a little over an hour. Madeline has not been very significant throughout this level, but she does surprise me now and again. I did not even realize I could fit between the token and the spikes there. Completing it after that would be pretty great, but that was the wrong move. I actually got a repeat with the same beginning. And then dashed into spikes at the end. I'm being very careful here. And so, clear. And that's the end of the whole level? There's nothing hidden, so yeah, that last bit was just an epilogue. I went from thinking that there would surely be some nightmare final room I'd spend ages struggling with, to suddenly just being done. That red GM level I'd been dreading is over and done with. It felt wonderful. All in all, that level's just quite pretty and a blast to play. I loved it. And at only 3 hours, that went surprisingly smoothly. Is there any chance of that continuing on through the next few levels?